Welcome to this episode of Payroll and Prosecco. I'm your host, Mel Hassib, and I'm the founder and director of the Payroll Agency and your host here at the Payroll and Prosecco. This week we have the wonderful Natalee Leach, who is the CEO of the Payroll Collective. Welcome.
Hello. How are you, Mel?
Thank you so much for coming.
Very excited. I've already had a sip, which is never a good sign. This could go anywhere.
So we're in Melbourne today. We're in the Gipp Street office of the Commons in Melbourne, and I am hungover. I'm not doing very well because we had an event.
Have a smell of the.
I had a big night last night for the recruitment awards, and so today is going to struggle. We're just going to top it back up, and we're just going to go, and we're going to talk a lot of shit, and it'll be great. So, Natalee, if you introduce yourself. Obviously, people know who you are. You've got a great brand in the payroll market, but tell us a bit about yourself and how you got into payroll.
It's a good question. I tiptoed and fell into payroll. When I was in primary school at the age of 5, people ask what you want to do with your life, and I put she just had a sip of champagne, and it didn't go down very well. When I was 5, I remember sitting there in the class, and they say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And of course I put my hand up and I said, I can't wait to be a payroll lady. No, that's absolutely not the truth.
What did you want to be?
I probably didn't know what I wanted to be at age 5, but by the time I hit high school, I loved numbers.
Yeah.
I honestly I love teaching and mentoring, and I thought I'm going to be a maths teacher, and I thought, oh my God. So I went into uni and actually started my teaching degree.
Did you?
And then I fell into a full-time role at the same time in payroll.
There you go.
And then I quit uni, and
how
here I am.
How did you get into payroll? Like how did you trip into it? Was it like your auntie or someone I've got a job for you. How did you do it?
So my first role was at actually a shoe retailer, and I was sitting there just manually paying people. So on a little spreadsheet, we'd put it through this black and green screen, typing without a mouse and all that sort of stuff. And yeah, from there, I've loved numbers, and I've just continued that, I think, across the way.
That's really good. I wanted to be a psychologist.
That makes sense.
Yeah,
it does. Do love people.
Yeah, it does. And I think for me, like obviously where my product and my client are people, I think understanding the human mind was quite important. But yeah, I was dead adamant on being a psychologist. And then when I moved to Australia, I couldn't do anything because it wasn't sponsored by anything, because you've got to be like a governing body and all that kind of stuff. I was like, get into recruitment.
But you know what? It makes sense, right? Like now you've actually launched your business as I have in the last 3.5 years. And that psychology element with people is probably what holds you apart in your world, because you actually deeply care intrinsically about the human mind and getting the right thing for your clients. So
and doing I think being able to, because in recruitment you would have experienced, you've hired, how many people you got in your team now? 22
that
people.
Is 3.5 years.
It's an insane amount of growth. But when you're working with people and you're hiring people, there's certain trends that come out. So you're like, when they don't respond as frequently, you go, okay, well that's that kind of behavior, and you can kind of 3 steps ahead of the way that they're behaving. And I think my psychology stuff has really helped. Payroll people are crazy.
We are a really unique bunch, aren't we, Mel? Like, honestly, you've got so many different. We are quite diverse, though. I'm probably bucked the trend with that. I'm out there, extremely extroverted, and maybe that's what I needed to start a business. But it's been a blessing.
You're like me as well. We're just bouncing off the walls. Normally, I'm even more energetic, but I'm really tired today.
That's all right. Just
I'm going to get it down.
Scull the drink.
So you got into payroll and you're working for a shoe retailer. When did you kind of think to yourself, do you know what, this is something that I can do? I'm enjoying this. I can be successful in this.
Yeah, I think from day one, for me, it was about making sure people got paid correctly. Again, for me, it's people. It's knowing that payroll is the most important thing, I think, in a business.
Of course it is.
Because at the end of the day, people need to be paid correctly and on time. Because without people, you don't typically have a business unless you're a completely AI bot-driven business without the need for any humans. We need to be paid correctly and on time. It's what keeps the world ticking by. Like I think half of the world's population, are in paid work.
Correct.
And someone has to do that job. And I think that's sometimes forgotten. If you talk about payroll in the last 10 years, we were just a little back office thing, weren't we?
Oh,
Like you just guys
yeah.
we just click the button.
Yeah.
But I'm pretty privileged to say now that I think payroll does have a bit more of a seat at the table.
It does. But it's the likes of yourselves who have really kind of pushed it into the forefront of, you know, businesses' mind and how important it is to offer, you know, with the amount of complexities and like everything that goes on with Australian payroll. It's not just a button. And, you know, back in the days when I first started into recruitment 11 years ago, it was a back office. It was like you had one person doing timesheets and then you had the manager, they would do everything else. And there wasn't anywhere else to go. It was like you become the manager and that's it, you know? But
100%.
now it's like, and the likes of yourselves has kind of like pushed it into the forefront of businesses' mind. You know, we need this, we need to operate correctly, we need certain controls, governance, there needs to be processes in place. It isn't what it used to be. So it's, you know, we need the likes of yourself to really change what people think about it.
And I think it's part of like our business model as well. You know, I started this business not because I wanted to, you know, make money. It actually wasn't my purpose of why I wanted to do this. I actually wanted to make a difference. I wanted to break the glass ceiling and make sure that payroll did have a seat at the table. And I think actively as part of our operating model, I'm here with you. I'm spreading the love on payroll. I do a lot of guest speaking. I am constantly preaching to the wider audiences about the importance of payroll and how important it should be that businesses stand up and take note, particularly the C-suite.
Yeah, 100%. What, obviously you launched the Payroll Collective. Were you 20 years you were in payroll before?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a long time.
Yeah, that story is a bit of a funny one, I think, for me. It was a real turning point in my entire life.
Yeah.
You know, I think sometimes you have to hit rock bottom to actually realise that you can bounce back.
Yeah.
And yeah, for me, it was the right time. I've had the privilege of having some great bosses who really taught me how to lead with empathy, compassion, and lead with this human approach first. But on the other side, I'm also equally privileged to have had some not so great managers, the ones where the easiest lesson to learn is by not doing what they do.
Yeah, 100%. Do the opposite of everything they did.
Yeah, because it's easy, right? They make the mistake and I don't have to.
Yeah.
But for me, it was that story was during COVID. I had a baby and she was 6 months old, and I reckon I probably had a bit of postpartum depression.
Oh, really?
But also was in a really hard working environment.
Yeah.
And it was at that time I thought, you know, what is my legacy? If I died tomorrow, it's COVID, everyone's being locked down in Melbourne. It was a pretty horrendous time. I'm like, if I died tomorrow, what are people going to know me for? And at the time, I remember saying to my husband, I'm like, I just want to run away to the Amazon rainforest and save the forest, right? And like this idea of grandeur was just so ridiculous. I've got a family, I have a very big mortgage and a husband. And yeah, I just kind of realised, what am I good at? You know?
I can do more.
I can do more.
I can contribute more to this.
Yeah, like I'm good at payroll.
Yeah.
But how do I turn that into a legacy? And that's really how the Payroll Collective was born.
That's amazing, because I think for me it was very similar. Obviously, we were talking about it before we recorded, but for me, when I 10 years I was in recruitment, and same, you know, I had some great bosses and then I had some not so great bosses, and I just thought to myself, I was like, I feel like I can do this better on my own. I feel like I can create something myself and really put my values and like who I am into this and really build this thing for myself. And I was like, yeah, I don't have to just do what I'm told. I don't have to follow what somebody else tells me to do. I can do this for myself. And I think the exactly same thing. I was like, I can do better. And best thing I ever did.
It was the best thing you ever did.
Best thing I ever did.
It's great to be here today with you.
Yeah,
because we're both so passionate about what we do.
We're also matching.
Yeah, we are. We're also matching the same outfit.
Which wasn't planned.
But you know what? You touched on something, values. If you start a business based on really good values and you do it with compassion, empathy, and you recognise that you're a human, I'm a human, no matter who I speak to, whether it's a CEO, CFO, a payroll officer, a receptionist, no matter who I speak to, I approach them knowing that outside of work, we're humans. And we should be the same. There's no reason why we have to interact differently. And I think that's where we've got synergy, right? You do the same thing and it's a successful story.
We're authentically ourselves, but while offering the best service we can. We were just talking before as well about, you know, when you have clients, you're like, I'm not going to do it this way because this is not the right way to do it. And it's about making sure that we offer a service to the clients of, we're going to do things legally, properly, authentically, and accurately. We're not going to do things where you want me to do things. We're going to do it the right way. And I think that obviously falls into your business as well.
It's exactly the same thing, right? If your values are, obviously important to you and they're important to the business, you have to maintain that. With some of our clients, we actually have we make sure that the clients also drive that same kind of synergy with us, and that they recognize that our core values are just as important as theirs. We're in a very great position now to be able to say we actually don't think we're going to be the right fit for your organization, based on the fact that our skills and talent are not just the business.
Correct.
It's every interaction and how we're going to work in a way that's going to be conducive to all parties to get a successful result. So, yeah.
People think it's easy to own and run a business.
No, I'm tired, babe. I am tired.
So tired, because it's all the other decisions as well. Like, you've obviously got to do the right job and you've got to do everything right. And obviously you're managing team 22. I've only got one. But you want to do all the right thing, and you're like always on. You know, always, like, I don't know if you're the same. Like, I'll lay in bed and I'm like, oh, I've got to do this, I can do this, or this is a marketing idea and they can do this for a bit of branding, and I'm laying there in bed, it'll be like 3 a.m. and I'm like, oh my God, I've got this really great idea, I must remember to write that down. So it's like a 24/7 job when you're the business owner, regardless of the size of the business.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. I think 18 months ago I think we had 4 employees and now we have 22, so that's crazy growth. But you're right, it just doesn't really turn off. No. But I do prioritize my people. My team is everything to me. I would be nothing without them. Yeah. And I need to make sure that they're happy. And if they're happy, our clients are going to be happy as well. So,
correct.
But it is hard. I literally woke up this morning at about 2:30 in the morning, panicking about a parallel pay run with a client, and then was up, right? So it does never stop.
It doesn't stop.
But it's because we care.
We do, I know. And I think that's one of the things for me. I was like, why am I doing this for an employer? Like, what? Because I was the same when I was, obviously it's maximized now. It's like even worse. But like, I used to be the same. I used to always be so passionate about doing it right. And I was like, oh, nobody else cares as much as I do.
I have a very similar story to that.
Go for it. Tell us.
In most of my jobs, and because I am so passionate, it's exactly the same thing. I would sit there saying, guys, there's compliance risk. Guys, there's compliance risk. This is no good when we're underpaying our teams or we're overpaying our teams or whatever it might be. And it was like banging my head against a brick wall. I was like, no one actually cares.
No one cares.
So that's inside the organization, right? And I was like, okay, well, amongst my, Amazon rainforest crazy idea that I had to start the business, the catalyst for me was going, okay, no one thinks that there's a problem because I'm internal. Let me flip this. I'm going to jump on the other side, launch this business with purpose and core great values, and know that the client who's coming out to me they've already admitted they've got a problem.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, guys, let you fall on your sword, and now you have, and here we are. Yes, we are here to help you. We've been here the whole time, but now I'm on the other side.
Yeah.
It's a really big difference.
Do you find that people listen to you more, or do
100%.
Do still people not listen to you?
Well, I think just when you're inside a corporate organisation, you're just another cog in the wheel.
Yeah.
You're just another cog.
Because if you report into, like, if you say, for example, if you're an internal payroll person, you report into the HR director or the CFO, and they don't have a clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Like, they will always push back. They always feel like push back on things, even though you're not listening to me. Like, if it was something finance or HR related, I'd listen to you because you're the professional, but you're not listening to me.
Yeah, I think there's that. But I also think that often leaders within a big organisation may also have their own agenda. They've got their own KPIs that doesn't necessarily involve just payroll. Like, typically if you're in HR, you've got a whole gamut of things to consider.
Yeah, it's true.
What does my boss want from me?
Yeah.
My boss wants to see that we're keeping our employees happy and they're retained, right? So sometimes they will focus on the things that might yield them a quick result. But ultimately, if you don't pay your people on time, you don't have people.
Yeah.
So
Especially if you're like, with these businesses that are like unionized and they have the right to, if they don't get paid properly, or they can walk off sites and start, oh God, the pressure, I don't know, it's too much. Too much.
Yeah. But you know what? I think that the union pressure, as well as like fair work changes, the ATO, payday super's coming. If you haven't planned for that, it's probably too late. But all
clients,
these things,
I know clients that aren't even.
Yeah,
they're not even thinking about it.
I'll give you some hot tips at the end of this. But with all those changes, I think that has landed a big difference. I think payroll, and I think anyone listening to this would know that they do have a bit more of a say in how they operate the payroll function. But there's still a long way to go.
I think as well, my thing is I've got payroll managers that are like fighting for their lives just trying to get their payroll out, because most teams are understaffed, they're undervalued, they're overworked. I've got a client that's like, she works days, weekends, nights. She's just, and I said to her, I was like, you need to communicate that you need more. So she was like, I tried, they won't listen to me, type of thing. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. Anyway, we just put someone in there which will help. But
the burnout factor.
The burnout, she hasn't even got a second to think about stuff like payday super. She's like, how am I going to do? She's like, I'm already working weekends just to get the payroll out. How can I possibly do this? This is why the likes of yourselves, you can come in and it's just like, they don't need to worry about having a permanent person or even paying something. Just come in, do the project and leave. And I think it is a really good service because people need your help. They do.
They do, yeah. We've got a number of different clients who are reaching out to us now for the payday super stuff, and of course we're here to help with that, right? Yeah. So it's those edge things that BAU, I always say BAU gets in the way of a good day every day.
Mm-hmm.
And with all the best intentions and the best laid people in those organisations, time is of the essence. So we certainly do love to come in and sprinkle magic on those sorts of things, and that's where our expertise lies, right? Like system config, building new systems, but also building that capability internally so they can maintain it going forward. But yeah, BAU is sucking every payroll person at the moment.
People are just like struggling to get the payrolls out, full stop. That's the problem. Like, if you're, as you said, if you've got a payroll manager, you're already understaffed. It's really hard. But I've got loads of, we were talking about, don't want to say the name, but we were bitching about a particular product that's being rolled out. We were bitching about it the other day. There's all these things, and they're just trying. Yeah, it's a really hard market at the moment, and I think the good thing is it is becoming, payroll is getting the seat at the table. People are listening now. They're realizing the consequences of not listening. You've got CFOs, HR directors that are going, oh shit, we need to start listening to what these people are saying, because they have been warning us for the last 10 years that it's not the right, it's not the way it was.
It's also like it's a there's now laws that say if you knowingly, willingly, continually and deceptively continue to underpay people, you can go to jail.
And my payroll managers are like, no, I had a guy that he was like, he resigned from his job, and I was like, why? And he was like, because I've alerted, actually I've had two, I've alerted to significant underpayment, and like we can see it, and I've alerted and I've put it in writing, and they've told me to ignore it. And he was like, I'm not going to jail for them. I'm not going to go to jail for them.
I love that. We need every one of our payroll people should know that they have the right to not do.
Yeah, he resigned. He was like, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna put my head on a chopping block and go to prison for it.
Honesty, integrity, and abiding by the law. And that's like 100%. 3 core things for payroll, right? But yeah, there's certainly that out there everywhere. People they want to put it under the carpet, don't put it in writing. We absolutely go against that and just make sure that we're working with the client. We want to get them the best result possible, Correct. But they do have to listen. And that's what's probably great about our business right now is that they've already come to us because they know they've got a problem.
Yeah, and they're like, help.
I haven't had to now be in that same vicious cycle of shouting to the rooftops and having not been listened to. So
100%. So we'll talk about your big winning of Women in Finance CEO of the Year.
Oh my goodness.
That's an amazing achievement. I'm so happy for you.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us about that. How did that feel? What was that moment to you? Tell us everything.
Oh, that was honestly one of the most reaffirming moments. I was actually in a really bad place. The week prior, I had some really horrible news with a family member that had passed or was about to pass away. I was up in Sydney for other events, away from my family. I was tired. And the night before, I just remember standing in my hotel room and I was exhausted. And I looked out to the city at Sydney, and I was just standing there at the window just thinking, just give me a sign that I'm on the right track. Because when you start a business, Mel, you would know this. Yeah, it is not for the faint-hearted. No. It is actually a lot of hard work and dedication.
It's very lonely.
It can be actually very lonely.
If you do it on your own, it's really lonely because you know that you're the best person. You know what the best is for your business. And there's always people around, there's mentors, there's people that ask questions. But they never care as much as you do, and you know that you've just got to do it on your own. Ultimately you are the best person for your business, and it's hard. It's lonely.
Well, in all honesty though, I was very humble. I cried when I won that award. I honestly, pardon me, I think there were another 18 or something like that in the actual final the finalist of the CEO. And when they called out my name, I think there's a video on LinkedIn. You could see me literally shake.
How did
was
they call you? Did they
shaking.
call you and say, we just want to tell you that you've won, or did you get an
I
email?
was there. I was at this huge ball.
Oh, so they did it there. They didn't tell you beforehand. Okay, right.
No, they did not tell me beforehand. I
Right.
had no idea. And
Yeah.
it was sort of called out at the very end of the night. But what a very humbling moment that was. There was a lot of, I guess, recognition that I am on the right path. I am being mad every day. And in my speech, I actually did talk about that and gave people some motivation that if you can just wake up every day and just be mad, MAD, make a difference.
Oh, I love it.
Right?
Yes.
And it doesn't have to be the biggest thing ever. It could just be make a difference, make a positive difference to someone that is working with you, a person, a client. Know that at the end of the day, you can count up all of those little moments where you've been mad in that day, and that's what keeps you going.
I think there's what I've noticed in the world is how incredible women are, and I don't want to like say too much, like because I'm like a feminist or whatever, but
you got two fabulous women in
yeah,
there.
I know. And I think for me, I always knew that I could do like something good and all this kind of stuff. And I'm only a year in now, and I can hopefully one day I'll be anywhere near how successful you are. But I think as a woman, balancing everything in life. I mean, I don't have any kids, so I'm not got a husband, I've got a boyfriend, but I don't have.
Do you know that doesn't matter? Do you know what's happening is that we're throwing everything at it, right? It doesn't matter what our journeys are if they're different, right? Because at the same time, you're doing something great. I'm doing something great, and there's value in that, and we throw everything that we can at it.
But it's balancing everything in life as well. I've got so many women that I work with, and like candidates that they want to do these amazing things, and like when I speak to them on the phone, they're so passionate, and they're like, I'm like, you could be this massive payroll manager, all this, and then they're like, I can't because I've got to be at home with the kids, or I've got to do the school drop off pick up because my husband won't, he won't do it because he's and I'm like, it's still such a thing of, women are still kind of pushed into doing those duties and sacrificing their own, wants and passions and drives in life. And it's been great to see that you have managed to do it.
Well, maybe and maybe not. I must say, I have an amazing husband.
Yeah.
And he actually started, this is a bit of a funny story. We both started our own businesses at the same time, and he was doing something completely different. And at one point we just sat down on a Friday in our regular Friday wind down on the couch, and we just sort of looked at each other and we're like, we both can't be competing on the parenting duties, and I can't take the kids to school today because I've got a meeting. And we sat down and we strategically thought about, well, which business is going to be, where can we see more light and being able to make more of a difference, right? And it was the Payroll Collective. So in actual fact, my husband is amazing and does a lot of the pick up and drop off, and it is a bit of a yin and yang approach to how we maintain our crazy busy lives.
No, it's good. I think that's the key to it, because it's not the story I hear, unfortunately. It's so sad. It's so sad. I had someone the other day. And she's great, and I was like, I got her an interview for like a really great role. It was like 20 grand more than she was on before, and she was so excited when I was telling her about it. And then I was like, okay, I've got an interview for you, blah blah blah. And she was like, Mel, I spoke to my husband, and I'm not going to be able to get into the city 3 days a week. Like, I just can't. And I was like, what? Like, and it's really hard.
Do you know what? That is hard. But
really
one thing
hard.
I will say is that whilst my story is a bit different, I have a bunch of incredible humans in my organisation, and I'm flexible. We have people that often leave at 3 to go pick up the kids.
Yeah.
We actually allow the kids to come into the office. So sometimes, on a Friday, you'll find that there's a bit of a little primary school fair going on in our boardroom.
Oh God, dogs, yes. Children, no.
But at the end of the day, no matter how busy we are, we have to appreciate that women, men, whoever you are, lifestyle is also as equally important, because if I try and have people in our organisation that we've said, no, you must be here 9 till 5 and I'm clock watching, that means I've just made every part of their life a bit more difficult in today's society.
It's true. I offer flexibility as well, because a mom who works for me, she's got 2 kids, a 1-year-old and a 3-year-old. So
all the babies.
Yeah, and she's a machine. I don't know how she does everything. She's the same. She just manages to get everything done. But I've just said, if she needs to work from home, she can work from home. She wants to, on one of the days she starts earlier because she has to pick the girls up. So
this is what being an amazing leader is about, Mel. Like, you've got to understand that, I keep talking about being a human. I don't want to be different at work than I am at home. No. Why can't we have the flexibility of being able to still get our jobs done? It sounds a bit ridiculous from a payroll consulting agency that I tell my employees, guys, I pay you for the hours that we need to bill our clients for, but whatever you want to do in that time, as long as you're getting that work done, you're paying you for the quality of the work that you're producing.
Like, for me, I cannot wake up in the morning. I hate mornings.
Me too.
Are
we twins? We're actually matching outfits. Love a wine.
I know, I can't. Yeah. I actually cannot, for the life of me, get up in the morning. So I tend to start at like 9:30, 10 because I'll go to the gym.
Me too.
Really? So there you go. But then you work all night. I'll work all night.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm a night owl. I probably really only turn my brain on at about 3:00. I mean, we're highly functioning.
I think
people.
we've had the ADHD conversation. Haven't we?
We have. Yeah, we're both fully ADHD.
Yeah, but you can tell. We're both like,
yeah. Do you know what? Only the famous people are ADHDs. Okay.
No, I'm medicated, and I did a thing about it on LinkedIn when I first got diagnosed. Was it 2 years ago? Because I always knew. Like, it's when you've got it, because you see a post about it and you're like, that makes perfect sense. That's why my brain's fucking weird.
Or you have a whole bunch of friends going, mate, you're ADHD.
Yeah. Like, people used to say it to me all the time, and I'd be like, because I obviously high energy, all of that kind of stuff, but my brain doesn't switch off, and you're the same, right? So it has always been that way. Even before I started the business, I would just sit there and think about things all the time. And
it's been my superpower.
It's my superpower. It is my superpower. We got the good thing of ADHD, because I know some people with ADHD and they've got all the bad ones. They can't start anything. I procrastinate so bad, but apparently I was learning about this. So people with ADHD we're not driven because we just have to do things. Like, most people just get up and they go to work and they do their job because they have to do their job.
We're driven with purpose.
And for me, it's money. Like, I'm like, everything. I know if I get up and I do this thing, I'm gonna make money. So like, that's my and
that's your drive.
Once I'm like, I've made enough money this month, I'm like,
then you sleep for weeks.
Yeah. No, I don't. But I just I find myself more unable to push myself like the way I can do. Like, I'm a machine. Like, I could do 3 people's work if I can see money at the end of it. Yeah. And your drive is obviously
do you know what my driver is? And this is probably a good and a bad thing, but mine is actually making sure everyone's okay. I sometimes let my things go, like maybe not going to the gym, or I will defer that because I'm just so conscious that I need to make sure our clients are happy and our employees are happy. And sometimes that's like a hyper, but it's a hyper focus, right? Yeah. And it means that things for me might fall by the wayside. Yeah. That I didn't get to do the things that I wanted to do, like, I don't know, go to the gym or go catch up with a friend, or I've cancelled that because I'm so hyper focused on it. So that's probably where.
Because you get dopamine from that. So we're driven by dopamine, really. So it's like, apparently there was one thing I was reading, and it was like people with ADHD, we tend to be doing like we like revenge as well, because like we feel like it releases dopamine in our brain.
Does it?
Yeah, apparently. Like I don't know.
I'm not a really revengeful person.
No, me either. But I can see it. I can definitely see it. I don't really have revenge with anyone, but I can imagine it in my own head. I'm like, if I knew that was going to get revenge, 100% I could do it. I would do it. Like, I would be very driven to do something. Yeah. But ADHD is funny because I think it's my superpower as well. And I think that's why I've been able to be as successful as I can, because it's the same. I'm my hyper focus in doing things, and my brain never switching off on the work has become.
It does get tiring though, doesn't it?
And masking. I was talking to Amal about this today. I don't know if you do that. I mask my symptoms a lot. And the older I've gotten, the more exhausting that is. Because my actual being wants to be very chaotic. And I'm like, and I hold it in the best I can, because I'm 35. When I was 20, it was okay to be chaotic. It was okay to be
we were the fun ones at the bar,
We were the
right?
fun ones, correct.
Yeah.
But when you're 35, you have to be presentable. You're a businesswoman. You have to be a certain way, and I mask all my chaos, and I find it can be very, very draining.
I did when I was in the corporate world, but you and I had this chat before we started recording about being genuine and authentic. And I think, now I'm 42. I shouldn't say that. Can you block that out? Actually, don't say my age.
24.
24. Just doing reverse. Yeah. Is that? Oh God, I've forgotten what I was going to say.
You were saying being authentic.
So being genuine and authentic. And I think now that I'm getting older, I've kind of learnt my own toolbox. I've got my box of tools to be able to not so much mask, but to be able to recognize my own presence in a room and understand that, oh, hang on, I'm just going to hold my tongue, which is really hard for me.
Told me the other day, and she goes, sorry, I'm breathing very heavily because they're not even tight. I just feel like I'm out of breath. Anyway, I'm hungover. And, a client calls me the other day and she goes, I need someone ASAP. I need these 6 temps. We need people ASAP, blah, 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 blah. I had 4 interviews locked in within 2 or 3 days. Like I smashed it, got all these candidates over. Then they were like, oh yeah, we're not in a space to make a decision. It's now 2 weeks, right? 3 of the 4 have gone.
That is so frustrating.
It's really it's very because I don't get paid.
I was about to say.
So I've done all of that for no money.
And you're driven by money.
Correct.
Right.
So it's very frustrating the fact that I have to now start that all over again when I could have had within 3 days had basically 4 out of the 6 roles filled. So now 3 have gone. And 1, she just called me, so I've got to tell her that we're still not able to move. So then we're end of week 2. So this was 2 weeks ago. I started the process, and it's really a thing. But ADHD is a very interesting, very interesting. What is it? Neurodivergence, because our ability is like people look at us and they go, how? Like when Amal started working with me, she was like, "How do you do that? Like, how are you that way?" And
can I ask, when you were little though, at school, were you just either loved or you were loathed?
Oh, loved.
You were loved?
Yeah.
So you're a firecracker.
I was loved. Everyone loved me. Everyone was like, used to say to me, "You've got so much potential, but you don't know how to apply it." And I was like,
because my mum used to always. You would have been so much better if you had have applied yourself.
Yeah,
you
just don't know how to apply. I was like, yeah, because I can't. But
now look at us.
I know, I do. But this is the thing. Like, I think that we need to be. This is why I wanted to do this, because I think it's so important to people to think that if you know in yourself you've got so much more capability, and you're sat in a job, and you can do something better and they're not listening to you, there is always the option to do it for yourself.
Do it for yourself or act with purpose. Yeah. And if you can't, I always talk about the value proposition, right? Like if you're in a workplace and you are doing something that doesn't yield value, you don't feel valued and it has no purpose. I always say if that's a task, stop doing it. If it's your entire job, then you don't feel valued. Why would you do something when you don't feel like you're adding value, you're not valued, and you're not working with purpose? So I think it's that kind of ethos as well.
How would you talk to people about that? Because I always say this. I'm saying like everything I do it because I want to do it because it's going to make me money. But like if I'm like, oh, that's not going to be worth it for me, I'll be honest. I'll be like, look, it's not. I've got 10 jobs at the moment. Like I can't do this. I can get to it later, whatever. But if you're a payroll manager and you're feeling like you're just on the hamster wheel.
Yep.
You're in this job. You don't mind it. You like your managers, but you're on this hamster wheel. What would your advice be for someone like that?
It's a good question. That's as part of our business, we actually created this thing called a payroll pulse check. And it is all about understanding the entire operating model of your payroll or your people function, where we actually get to deep dive and actually get the payroll team who have been so busy in their BAU. We take 2 days out of their time, we workshop with them, and we ask those questions. What gives you value?
Yeah.
What is not giving you value right now?
What is driving you to continue doing what you need to do?
And then we literally isolate all of those things, and some of them within the workshops will say to their boss and to them, stop doing it. It's a waste of time. If you start to do things that actually yield really good results and the person doing that task understands why they're doing it, they will come to work with a bit more of a purposeful attitude. So it's not just about jumping ship and starting your own consulting, because my goodness me, I'm tired. But
yeah, and it's not for everyone. If you're already busy and all that, it's not going to be for you.
But it is about the hamster wheel, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the time, people are doing stuff that they're not satisfied with because there's things broken.
Yeah, I feel like people are on the hamster wheel more so than not, and I feel like when they get to the end of the payroll and they're like, right, it's done. We've done it. We've uploaded. Then they start again.
Yeah.
And I can see how easy it would be to fall out of love with payroll, and how if you've been doing that the same way for 20 years, it just in a different
Do you know what
day.
though? I honestly would have to say the ones that fall out of love with their job is because their leader didn't empower them to make decisions. Agreed. Or didn't train them and teach them into how to look for ways to optimize, make more efficient, automate where you can, because that hamster wheel is all based on doing the same thing day in, day out, data entry, really not understanding what they're doing, not adding value. To do that, you have to think, you have to elevate yourself out of the pits of despair, think about things critically. That can sometimes only be done by a consultant who comes in a workshop to do that, but it should be the leader's job.
Because do you know what I think that stems back to? I think back in the days, right, when the only progression in a payroll team is to be the payroll manager. And I find that there's a lot of older school payroll managers that never motivated their team. They never pushed them to do the best they can because they saw them as a threat.
But you know what I can say about that is a lot of that older mindset of really just data entry, no view for optimization, that business is likely falling behind. And
100%.
Well, I mean, 100%. Compliance is everything, and a system and a good process and great people are going to be what helps you get there. But if you're not optimizing and you're not actually looking at your systems, reviewing that, you're still manually data entering timesheets, for goodness sakes, please, that's not a good idea.
No.
Then that's the business falls down, right?
100%. And I find that, like, maybe not so much now, but the new generation of the payroll managers, the ones that have been in, say, payroll management roles for sort of the 5-ish years, they weren't taught to be the best that they can be, because I think their managers always told them, you do it this way, do it this way. They weren't, like, the ones when I first started 10 years ago, the ones that now retired, they were the ones that were very opposed to change. They were very opposed 100%. To automation. Well, I've been doing it this way for 20 years.
Do you know, we actually teach that. So we say in those workshops that we hold, right, if someone says to us, if I say, why do you do it like that? And they say, I've always done it that way. And I'm like, oh, you can't answer it like that.
Yeah.
I say, well, I'm going to ask it again and you cannot answer the same way. And then they go, well, my boss told me I had to. I'm like, oh, you also can't answer that way. If you don't know why you're doing something and you can't tell me that the only reason is because someone else told you to do it, that's where I say stop doing it.
100%. But it happens all the time. It happens all the time. Obviously, you work with how many payroll teams, but I'm finding that is like the new thing that, they were told to be opposed to improvements. Because they felt threatened. They felt like that was a threat to their potential
job.
Position. Yeah. And if we get AI, we're still the thing. We're talking about AI.
100%. And I can talk about AI. What I will say before we even touch on the AI is that prior to all of the AI stuff coming over, the last couple of years, we've already been driving efficiencies and people were already scared they were going to lose their jobs.
Which is so
mad.
It's
not that, though. I always talk about the fact that you were doing this. They were doing data entry, keying, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but no one should have to do that in this day and age.
No.
And that is a very purposeless, I just don't find value in that.
No, and if you operate that way.
But if they do, right?
Yeah.
The problem is the minute that, automation and all of those other things came through, my view is that your role has changed and it's become better.
Yeah.
So it's now about the payroll role itself is not data entry. The payroll role itself is a compliance specialist role.
Yeah.
And that's where they should be checking what the system's doing and making sure that they're compliant and not actually wasting time on medial tasks.
Correct.
And that's where AI comes in, right? Yeah. AI is definitely going to be there to remove a lot of those boring ad hoc jobs, 100%. It doesn't mean that payroll won't exist. There will always need to be a human 100%. Element. And it's about flipping our mindset. So for anyone listening now, if they're a payroll officer and they are doing a lot of manual entry, start to think about your own career journey because you should be starting to train up about how do I make sure that the system is going to operate in the way that it needs to? How do I build up reporting ways of working and making sure that what is in the system is going to match a compliant output? It's changing the mindset and the job description's changed, right?
100%. It's a whole different type of job. And I think, it's become analytical. It's become, as you said, compliance, like the ability to control the process from A to Z. And doing everything legally and according to the legislation the job is different and people should be embracing that. But yeah, I find that people that are on the hamster wheel are the ones that they don't see that. They don't see that they can be creating an amazing function and really getting their brains involved and analytical and all of these things. They're the ones that are going, oh, I'm just not allowed. We're not allowed to implement that system. I asked and they said, no, it's too much money. Well, Are you building business cases? This is where you go from being
Do you know what? I have an idea.
Yeah.
We're both entrepreneurial, right? I'm thinking, have we just kind of come up with a business, not a business idea, but a training idea where we actually...
We should do that.
Like where we basically allow anyone who wants to come in, we talk for 2 hours about how you can elevate yourselves out of the pit.
We should do what I kind of did. I did a round table and I said how to go from operational payroll to strategic leadership, because I think that is I think that's where the majority of the market is, and I kind of
100%.
saw that. But we should do that. Okay, we're gonna
there you go,
table
guys.
that.
Hot off the press.
We're gonna. This is what half a bottle of champagne does. Woo! But I think that's where you've got that the thing at the moment of like people just said they're not passionate, they're not a thing because they're stuck at this thing. They know they can do better, they don't know how to do better. And yeah, that hamster wheel.
It is the hamster wheel. What I would say though, that there are some people that do just like, we have to have diversity of people.
Oh, people just want to do the BAU. They just want to process their payroll. They love being on the tools.
Not even payroll, right? They might just want to do that job. But what I will say is that payroll has changed. And that if you do want to continue down the path of just coming in, doing your job and going home and being quite comfortable in that happy place of data entry, potentially payroll is going to no longer be the industry for you. That's what I would say. There's plenty of other places
100%. And people would talk about, how, the world changes all the time and you have to, and those who are fearful of AI,
You'll fall behind.
They're the ones that need to kind of stay behind, because if you're not going to keep up with it, if you're not keeping up, if you can't see the benefit in AI, it's like payroll is like recruitment. It's a human role, Yes.
It's about relationships.
It's communication. It's a really sensitive topic, getting paid and queries and stuff. It's a very emotional thing.
And do you know what I might actually say about AI? And just to kind of clear the air with a lot of people that are frightened about it, particularly in payroll, is that AI is a model that looks back at data in the past. When it comes to award interpretation, and I think everyone would agree with this, there's the General Retail Industry Award, right? That has 2,000 different interpretations in some factors, right? So one business might interpret, because law, interpretation is 9/10 of the law. A company might interpret a rule one way. This company over here interprets it different. There's no way AI can sift through all of that to give you the right outcome.
No.
So it's always going to have a human element within your organization. Typically shouldn't be payroll, it should be a legal team, but we need to embrace it.
Agreed.
And use it to supplement our boring, shitty
100%.
tasks.
100%. If you can avoid any of the data entry, your brain will be allocated to doing something more rewarding.
The dopamine.
Yes, the
right?
dopamine. When you're sitting there and you've got a really complex task and you're like, I just smashed through that, I've done it. How good do you feel? But
that
doing something like an admin role, like, I'm awful with the system, right? And I know we've laughed about it on the podcast before, my inability to do checks, right? I trust the mole that she's done payroll, because I do she does all my temp payroll. I just assume it's correct when I upload the ABA file. I'm just like, yep, I'm assuming that's correct. I do no checks. I'm horrific.
That makes my eyes twitch. But
you're not the only one. Everyone.
I might be able to help you with that and just show you what you should be approving. Anyway,
everyone says they're like, "No, you're gonna give us a heart attack." Why are you doing that? We'll go back to this, but we're talking about, if payroll doesn't get the respect it deserves. It's still, we're getting there, but we're not quite there yet, right? How do you find, dealing with your CEOs and your CFOs and your HR directors, the ones that are bringing you in? How do you feel, and how do you change their mind on the way that things need to be done?
Yeah, I think what I would say is, having been in my consulting business for quite some time now, only 3.5 years, but having been on that side and knowing that clients have already come to us with a problem, I can actually say quite safely that it is a big deal. If they're coming to us with a compliance risk, it's a big deal. I mean, I've had to sit in boards before and speak with directors of the board around compliance issues, because their HR director has asked me to come in and have our team rally around them to give them a plan on a way forward. So from that regard, when they're reaching out to us, they're doing a great job. On the other side of that, though, knowing where I was in my little bubble in corporate world, I would say 99% of the businesses, it's still a really big challenge.
Well, this is the thing I was going to say. If you were a payroll manager, What advice would you give to, if you can spot, say if you're a payroll manager in a court, in a business, and you go, look, I can see that we need to do this one thing. Right?
Okay, yeah, that's a really good question.
How would you advise them to deal with that?
If a payroll manager is seeing something, my advice would be don't just complain about it and try and shout to your leaders that there's a problem. It's about, well, what's the facts? And when you're talking to a C-suite person, really, ultimately, they want to know the stats. How many people does this impact? What's the total exposure potential value? What kind of criminal law or civil law actions are going to happen if we don't do anything? So it's about really building a case for your senior leaders to stand up and take note. Don't just walk into their office, as I probably have done maybe 15 years ago. I would just walk into the CEO's office and go, mate, we're not paying penalties on this, blah, blah, blah. It's not like that anymore. To do that, you really need to have all the facts. So I would definitely say that that's my recommendation to them.
That's what I keep saying to them as well. So I find that payroll managers, were being majority introverted. They don't like, they don't want to sit there and put the business case together and then confront we've got a problem. I find that they're the ones who they'll target the CFO outside who's coming out the toilet. Hey, can I talk to you about this one thing? And then the guy's like, no, and then that could,
and that gets them off guard too.
Correct.
Right? So that you have to do it quite considered. I mean, as in the C-suite, they're all typically very busy, and they're also thinking about, a CEO, for example, they have 3 jobs. One is to drive revenue, one is to make sure their clients or their customers are happy, and one is to make sure their employees are happy. So if I'm a payroll manager, I'd be looking at, are my employees happy? So part of that fact-checking piece might be, how many queries have we had about this? Is the union aware about this? What is the system? And come to them with a solution. Right. So it would be, these are the facts. This is what we've found. This could be a potentially massive thing. We may need to go back 7 years. Let's go down the legal route. It's about thinking about what you need to invoke change, rather than just running into the CEO's office and thinking they're going to...
Yeah. Going into what we were talking about before, which was business cases, because I find that is one of the things that people want to get things over the line. So for example, if you're a payroll manager and you've been called by Tanda, say for example, right, and you know that this system is going to improve your processes and your whatever the situation is, or you need a new headcount because your headcount is your team are working 3 extra hours a day, and you can see that you need an extra headcount. How would you go about putting a business case together to your manager or the CEO, whatever it needs to get over the line? What's your advice for these people to get things over the line?
Yep. So like little old me from about 15 years ago would have, like I said before, run into the CEO and said, we've got a problem. We need to smash the glass ceiling. It doesn't fly. And I think as I've sort of learned to elevate myself in my role, it's about return on investment. Yeah. So number one, we know that if there's exposures to your system because we're underpaying people, that is a really clear way to make a big change, right? But they don't want to hear about it. They want you to show them. Yeah. So it's about showing me what is the problem. Yeah. What are we trying to solve here? When we do solve this, and just say it's a new system, for example, it's about the stats and the return on investment. It's about, well, what's the dollar impact? How much is it going to cost me over 2 years? Normally what managers will do is they'll say, it costs this much per year. If you look at the system implementation costs, it might be really high, and a CFO is just going to go, no. Yeah. But if you say over the next 3 to 5 years with this new system, we will have been able to reduce our overheads with our resources. We will have been able to pivot our team into focusing on really value add things, such as making sure we're being compliant. The system will automate. The system is more compliant. It's really about compliance at the end of the day, isn't it? Like, if you think about what you want to go in with, it needs to be dollars, the facts. What are they going to get out of it? Yeah. It's like selling a car. What is someone going to get out of it? You can have like a shark salesman out there that goes, you're just going to love the car and it's just going to drive itself. Yeah. It's not going to sell me a car, right? There's a lot of other things I have to consider.
I need big boot space. I've got 3 kids. And they go, well, this is going to be your solution. It's got a big boot. You've got lots of space for your 3 kids' stuff. You know what I mean? Like, you need to listen to the problem that they got, and then you offer the solution.
It needs to be a solution focus. It really does need to be about the money.
And I think people speaking the language of, if you're reporting into a CFO and you want the CFO to approve, speak CFO language. Money, as you said, ROI, like what is a CFO looking to save on? If it's a HR director, talk about, people focus. Oh, my people are stressed, they're tired, they're overworked.
But you know what? To the contrary of that, even when you're talking to the C-suite about this, there is a monetary value you can put on employee attrition. So if we know that for example, it might cost a business $70 to onboard every single person. When you talk about your licensing fees, it's probably a lot higher than that. If you have an attrition rate where you've got a 40% turnover, right, and you think about, we could actually bring this back. People are leaving because they're not satisfied with their company benefits, such as their pay is not on time, they aren't getting what they want. There's a number that you can put on that. That's actually, you can quantify that. Out of the 40% of people leaving, this is what it's costing the business from all of these people leaving based on why, right?
It's true. Very true.
So if people are leaving, maybe you need to start picking up in your systems, why are they leaving? What's the purpose? Build the stats.
Yeah, and then it goes back to the data analytics stuff of like, you've got to, we've got this group of people leaving, so if we think that we can implement this system, we can save the money. Like, there's just a ways to do it, but I just think that at the moment, payroll managers aren't necessarily trying to get they're not doing things the right way to get things over the line. We all know we need better systems. We all know we need extra headcount. And the ones that are, there's teams out there, there's businesses out there where their payroll managers are fully equipped, fully thing. If they want a new system, they're listened to. But what are they doing differently to the ones that are suffering? Now, I get it. Not all CFOs are going to listen to you. And I've actually had to cut off a client because this finance director is one of the worst people I've ever known in my life. Like, when I tell you, this man is just horrific. And I actually said to someone the other day, I was like, I could not imagine having to report into this human being. Like, he is horrific. He was so condescending to me on the phone the other day.
A true narcissist?
Oh, fully. His whole demeanor changed when I told him he wasn't eligible for a free replacement because it was a 6-month contract and she was 3 months in and resigned because of his behavior. And he was like, so it's going to cost me more money. I was like, you don't have to do anything, but I'm not replacing the role for you. And I thought, if that was a payroll manager, if that was my finance director, that you're not going to get anything over the line. He's just a dick.
And that's just a shit company.
Yeah, it's just a company to work for. Leave. Leave. You don't have to put up with this shit.
And of all the things that you and I could, teach the audience, right? At the end of the day, if you're in a toxic workplace and an environment where you've done everything right and you've given the ROI and you've given the stats and you've told them this is the benefit for the business going forward, and they still don't listen, and you are one of those people that really wants to make a change, but they don't want to, fuck them and leave.
Fuck them and leave. Yeah. Okay, so obviously we were talking before about, leaders and not like motivating their teams, and you've got business of 22 people now. What do you think it takes to be a good leader?
That's a good question. So like I said, it was just me 3.5 years ago. Obviously, I've led big teams before, but having grown it so quickly, one thing was really evident for me. To be a really good leader means to show up. It's to listen to our employees. And we're busy. Our team are extremely well invested in all of our clients. They're at capacity with their resourcing. It's about celebrating success. For me, it's about mentoring. I'm very much a mentor, teacher vibe of a leader. And one of the things I'm sure back in the day they would have said I didn't manage up very well. Well, stuff that. I'm now my own boss and I don't need to manage up anymore, right? But to be a really good leader, it really is about showing up. It's about getting your hands dirty. I am still in and on clients, and I think that kind of shocks my team, and they realize, oh no, I'm just one of them too. So sometimes getting your hands dirty and really understanding what they do day in, day out. I am a fiercely protective leader. So, if a client has said something or my team have gotten upset about something, I'm the first person there to make sure that, are they okay? We're fine. You guys did a good job. Let me go and reset the expectations for the client. I think there needs to be that support. When you first go into a job though, like as a payroll manager, sometimes the hardest thing is that buy-in from the people that have been there before. They feel threatened. They must have loved the last payroll manager that was there. Often that's the case. I think it's about going in there, having one-on-ones with the team and saying, what do you want to be here for? What is your expectation of the role? and how can I help you deliver excellence? Because I've got the tools and the skills, and I want to know how I'm going to work and fit in with you as a human.
I think it's really sad when there's managers out there that don't think that way, because life is so much easier when you support your team and like, for example, with Amal, like, you know, she's never done recruitment before. She's a payroll manager. So Amal's history is she was a payroll manager. I placed her in a role like 7 years ago. I placed her in a role. We kept in contact. And then she was in a job and she was like, I don't like my job. I'm blah, blah, blah. I want to leave. And I was like, would you consider coming for work for me? Like, and just being some admin and my payroll, doing my temp payroll, and then get into resourcing, because who's better to detect good payroll talent than someone who's done payroll themselves? So
that's a great move.
Right. So I brought her in, and now she's like getting a taste for it, and she's just done her full process, like taking the job in, finding the candidate, locking in the interviews, getting the feedback, doing it. She's just on that side, and I think we're about to get an offer for her. So,
do you know what? I think the idea is that you want to grow people.
Yeah.
And I like, there was
it's exciting. It's so good to see when they're like excited by it. Like
they are. I remember recruiting a payroll officer many years ago when I used to work at Bapcor or Burson, which is now Bapcor. And I remember sitting across the room from her, and I said, "Where do you want to be in 5 years?" Because I am that mentor leader. She turned around and said, "I want to be in your seat." And I said, "Do you know what? I'm going to make that happen." She was a bit shocked by that, because I don't think she's had a leader say that. And by hell or high water, I actually trained her in everything. I gave her every piece of knowledge, but she was willing to learn. And it's about having a good, solid relationship where you're happy with that space, right? Anyway, 3 years later, I left, I went on mat leave. She took over my job. She ended up becoming not just the payroll manager, the global payroll manager. She then became the shared services director globally.
Wow.
And now she works for me.
Yay!
So
and she probably will, like, she'll remember that.
And
but
she
does a good job, because you're like, well, you helped me, you trained me. I think that's like, this is the thing. A good leader is someone who nurtures and develops. If you're a payroll manager listening to this now, and you look at your team and you see them as a threat, and you see them as someone that you need to be fearful or nervous by because of your own position within the business, I think it's really important for you to self-reflect and say, this is not the right attitude to have, because a good leader should be creating themselves in their person, and they let them go. They'll go off. They're not going to come for your job. Like, that's not how it works.
And that's right. That was like the unicorn situation.
Yeah.
But you are so right. If you're going in as a manager and you're thinking that your team are conspiring against you, get under it, understand them a bit more, take them out for lunch, actually do some things on a human level first to understand them. Because, you know, like, we have a lot of remote workers. We've got a couple of people in Sydney and Queensland, and it's really important for me to make sure that we get them in front of us as a human, right? When you see someone face to face, you can break down all the barriers, even with our clients, right? Correct. It's the same premise.
Correct.
We work with a lot of payroll officers, and sometimes they might feel threatened because we're on teams and they can't see us
100%.
and see our body language. Obviously, we have our camera on. I hate it when people are in Teams meetings and just have their initials up. Drives me mad.
Girl, you're just talking to a black screen.
The robots. Like, but when we finally go up there, like next week, I'm going on site with a client for the first time in a couple of months. They are so excited. And I know at the end of that week, I'm going to have much more of a greater impact on them than if we continue the way we were. So understand your people. Get to meet them on a human level.
100% agreed.
Sometimes the people that are threats are often the best
people you can work with.
The best people that you can work with. So change your mindset.
I think it's an insecurity thing. And look, everybody's insecure with different aspects of their life. But I do think if you're a payroll manager listening to this and you've got someone that's really good in your team, and you're seeing them as a threat rather than an investment, I think it's really important for you to self-reflect and think about why. Because if the culture of the business is making you feel insecure, and that person is a threat, that's something you need to address. Because what you want to be, and we were just talking about it earlier, is you want to be the person that people say, I'm successful because of that person. You know, like, I'm where I am today because I had that manager, as you just said before, the girl that works for you now. Like, imagine being a payroll manager and training this person up to be so successful that they then go on to be, you know, head of payroll, shared services or whatever, and they go, do you know what, blah, blah, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, invested in me and helped me, and now I'm this person, like that's so much more rewarding than just being in the job that made you feel insecure. So
I agree. And if you think about it, at the start of this show, I spoke about the fact that I've had the privilege to work with great leaders and then the privilege to work with some really bad ones. Just don't be the bad ones. Don't give those free lessons away to people. I'd much rather go to bed at night and, like I said before, make a difference.
Yeah.
Just know that I actually had an impact, a really positive impact on someone today.
Right.
And if you're a leader in payroll, then that someone should be your team.
100%. All right, the Payroll Collective is obviously growing exceptionally fast. 3.5 years, you're at 22 people. You know, you've won your Women in Finance CEO of the Year. What do you think's next for you, and what's next for the business?
Well, it's an interesting fact. When I first started this with, we talked about ADHD before. Well, the sky's the limit. We're going to be as big as we can be. Let's go and get 5,000 employees. We're going to change the world in the Amazon rainforest.
Yeah.
But look, 3 years in, what I would say now is that I have to really remember the core values and why we did this in the first place. And that is to really make a positive difference. It's about, working with people that drive similar values to all of us, and that we have this human first approach to our business. I'm very acutely aware that if we grow past, say, the 80 employee mark, that it's going to be a real struggle to try and maintain that. And I think the fact is, we all work so well together right now. There's 22 of us. Who knows? We might max out at 30, 50. Who knows? We've got a strategy day coming up in about a month and a half. And at those days, every single employee in our business has a seat at the table to discuss where we go next. And I know that it's not just about me anymore. This is about my team. And we want to make sure that we're inclusive, that those people get to make a decision together with us.
And that's the thing, if you get too big, that personal touch will disappear, because you can't possibly listen to 80, 100 employees, So it's like right now, every 22 of you can have an input. Where do you want the business to go? Like, what clients do we want to represent? Those kind of things. Whereas if it gets too big, you'll lose that. But as you said, the sky's the limit. You never know. I don't know what I'm going to do. I've been so scarred from my first hire, if you're listening.
If you're listening,
I've been incredibly scarred from hiring, and we'll talk about it after, because I'll get you some advice on some stuff. But I don't know. I find it really intimidating now, because I just had such a bad experience. I'm just scared now to just do it again.
To what? Just
hire someone else.
To hire someone else. Wow.
Because I want to scale and grow. Like, I think I'm the same as you. Like, I've got a good brand, and the brand means everything to me, and doing a good job and all this kind of stuff. And I just think that I'm the only one in my head right now. I'm the only one that can do it as good, and I know that's a really toxic way.
Oh no, it's actually not toxic. It's really natural to feel that.
Yeah.
And I will touch on that over the time. I realized that I just cannot be everything and everyone. Like everything and everything. Oh, I can't even think of the word, because I'm drunk now. I've had 3 glasses of wine.
I can't be everywhere and do everything
for everybody.
Yeah.
And there was one lesson I had from another great leader many years ago, was don't ever be afraid to hire someone more intelligent and more clever than you.
Yeah.
Because
if I found one, I fucking take him.
But in all honesty, now I've got this team of such diverse skill sets that, maybe it's data or remediation. Now, as much as I think I'm pretty good at Excel, do love an X lookup and a pivot table, this person in my team is an absolute gun at that. And that means that I don't have to do that anymore, and I can make sure I'm delegating in the right way to the right people. So just don't be afraid to hire people that have a different skill set to you. They're not a threat. They are a complement to the business.
Well, if anyone listening is a recruiter, I don't know if any other recruiters listen to this, but if you're a recruiter and you're listening to this and you're potentially interested in joining, I would interview. I'd hire somebody. If I like somebody, I would hire somebody and bring them on. Like, I'm in a position where I've got, more jobs on than I can fill myself, and I'm turning people away. So when it comes...
That's a good problem to have, but it's not a sustainable problem.
It's not sustainable. That's my problem. And I'm like going into the new financial year being like, I need to put a plan together of how I'm going to scale the business, because I will. And I thought that I had the solution, but it didn't work out that way. So now I'm a bit like, I really don't want to set myself up for failure again. But listening to you talk and how you make the right investments with the right people and do the due diligence, as we were talking outside.
Yeah.
I think that's where I went wrong. I didn't do my due diligence and I didn't check. And I was focusing on the protecting myself in the process, because in my head I was like, well, I'm not going to do the checks. I'm not going to do this because I want to keep it a secret, because it benefits me to keep it a secret. However, in the long term, it actually didn't, because it didn't work out, and I should have done my background checks. And I think that's where
Not rushing.
I think not rushing, and I think everything. I think in business as well is everything's a learning. Every time something goes wrong, you go, okay, I've learned from that. And I think that you'd be, obviously you've been 3.5 years in. I think it would be silly to say that we haven't made mistakes.
Oh my God, and we are still learning every single
time.
day. I mean, growing so quickly. And it's so fabulous. Like, I'm so proud of my team. But growing so quickly, it does have its consequences, right? Of, well, what comes first, the chicken or the egg? That silly thing of, like, we've got a new client on. We've got no one to fill the role. Oh, my God, it's like a tipping scale. But for you, I think that you need to think about where you want to be now and in 5 years. And it's going, you know what, this business, and it could be in payroll. This is... In your payroll team, you should also have a 5-year plan,
100%.
by the way.
100%. Everyone should have a plan.
Yes, and payroll typically haven't had a roadmap.
No.
It's always been held by IT. But if you're listening as a payroll person, you should have a roadmap, right? Where do we want to be as a team in 5 years? It's not just about my people. It's about what's the business strategy. I'm talking about payroll people now, but it's the same thing for you. What is your business plan? If you know that in 5 years, not just about your growth in people, but what's your revenue intake? Are we in a growth phase? If we are, then you will need to recruit.
I also think, like, how much longer can I live my life just working all the time? If I invest in somebody, bring somebody else on, then I can go on holiday.
Oh, a holiday?
Yeah,
That'd
I could
nice.
sit back and just like watch some TV one night, and I don't have to work all day and all night. But yeah, it's definitely something I'm gonna. Yeah.
It's that tipping point of a small business, and we face it every day with 22 employees. It's still that. It's just.
Yeah, crazy. I think I need to think about it. But and then, okay, so look, we've talked lots about payroll.
You don't need to think about it. You should do it.
Just do it.
Because
well, if anyone comes across a really good recruiter that they like, send them my way. Because I'm open to.
There's a job on. Just announcing there's a job on.
If anyone, honestly, I'll take a good recruiter. Like,
she's a fabulous leader, by the way.
But even if you don't have payroll experience, like if you're not a payroll recruiter, like if you're just somebody who wants to get into, like, if you're a recruiter and you like the brand that we've got that are put together, like, let me know, because I'm hiring for 100%. But I guess we're talking about payroll, we're talking about business. What about outside of all of that? Like, who are you and what do you like, and what do you do on the weekends? Work.
work. Look, and to your point, it was all about that.
Yeah.
And I think 3 years in as a business owner, knowing that I nearly burned myself out many times over from working 16-hour days trying to get this business to do so well, because I love it so intrinsically. Our clients, I want to make sure they're doing a good job. I did do some reflection over the past 6 months, and I remember speaking to a friend and I said to them, I don't want to go to the gym, because if I go to the gym, I'm not being present with my kids. And that person turned it around on me and said, I think that you're being a really shit parent by not going to the gym. And I was like, whoa, what does that mean? And they were like, well, the gym would make you happy. And it's something for you. And if you don't do something for you and you're not happy, then how are you supposed to be really actively present with your kids?
You need to show up for yourself to show up for other people.
100%. So, about 6 months ago, I started doing dancing again, which I did professionally as a young one.
Oh, what kind of dancing?
The calisthenics.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Is that the one where they're like hanging off the poles?
When
they're like
a little bit. No, it's a mixture between rhythmic gymnastics and.
It's like gymnastics. That's what I was thinking.
Kind of.
When they're like, I've seen that. Oh my God, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I started doing that again and regretting it sometimes. My hips aren't what they used to be.
Oh my God, I don't.
But on the other side of that has given me that moment for myself that I am now more present with my kids, and I missed them for those 3 years, but I'm back and I see them obviously every night, but I now am actually with them on the weekends. I don't have other things on. I've now chosen to stop working on weekends.
Yeah.
So I'm really starting to put in some boundaries with that, but my kids are my everything.
Yeah.
I have a 6-year-old little girl who acts like she's 21, and I have a 10-year-old calm cucumber little man. He's clearly nothing like me, or maybe he is. No, my energy bucket is.
I was going to say, is he more like Dad?
He's so much like Dad.
Yeah.
There's a yin and yang thing going
Yeah,
on.
for sure.
But yeah, Friday night is my wine time. Everyone at my team would know that Friday night is my wine time, and I've started early today.
Yeah, it's Friday, isn't it? We start at 1:00. No, I think showing up for yourself is really important, and I think my first year in business has taught me that if you don't show up for yourself and you don't invest in your physical self, which is going to the gym and same, it will crumble around you, and it will not be good for anybody. And I've promised myself this year that I wouldn't get to the state that I got myself in last year. My problem is when people ask me to do something, I get very, very, like, I feel sad saying no. Like, in any kind of fit, if a friend messages me and say, hey, can you go for a walk? I need to chat or whatever. And, like, clients will say to me, like, Mel, you're always so busy, but you've always got time for us. Like, I'll get a call.
100%. And that's where the balance of being kind to yourself can really tip the wrong way. So as a business owner, and I think even payroll people, we can really burn ourselves out.
That's an ADHD thing as well. I've learned about that.
Where we're just throwing ourselves at something and we just want to keep going, and then we've forgotten that we did have a life outside of work. So it's about remembering that.
I'm trying to teach myself how to respect my own boundaries, because, you know, like I obviously I'm always available. Like anyone listening to this will know that if you call me for a chat, I'll always be available. And if I can't answer the phone, you know that I'm going to call you back. Like, no one ever thinks that I'm ever going to ghost them. Like, it's just not even a candidate. Like, a candidate said to me the other day, I was like, sorry, I haven't come back to you for a couple of days. I was like, no, it's fine. It's been like 2 days. I know you're going to come back to me. I've got that brand that I'm always going to respond. Like, I'm always available.
It's what a great brand is all about.
It is. And, you know, it shows that we care, and it shows that we're, like, we love what we do and we want to do the right thing. But I think having those boundaries, and payroll managers need to do it as well. Like, you know, this client is saying to me, she works on the weekends and stuff. And I'm like, you work for a mega $1 billion business. And I'm like, you need to set yourself back. Well, what am I going to do? You need to say no, because for as long as you're saying yes and you're doing it, they're taking advantage.
Well, you're also setting an expectation. And I think even for like new leaders or new payroll leaders coming into the market, if they've maybe elevated from a supervisor into a leadership role, one of the first things of advice I would say is to set your boundaries early, because the minute that you start to work overtime or work on the weekends, that you're setting an expectation for your manager to say, this is the expected level. We can do. That's the benchmark.
Yep.
So
agreed. And like I could not agree more. And payroll managers, they know when they're like, if I don't do it, people don't get paid. But for as long as you do that, they will expect.
There's no problem.
There's no
We talked about
they don't care. They don't care.
We talked about ROI before. The only way to deliver on ROI is to make sure that you work within the boundaries of your employment contract to get your job done. Now, if you can't get your job done, that is the first ROI to say the payroll didn't get paid because I worked my 9 till 5.
Correct.
ROI.
Yeah. And you'd be surprised how people will start if you know, well, I'm sorry, the payroll's not going to get done because I'm not working past 7 p.m. on the Friday. Like, I'm not going to work on the weekends. If I can't fit it into my 9 till 5, I'm not going to do it. You'd be surprised how quickly people will give you that extra headcount because the CEO isn't going to get paid. And when the CEO doesn't get paid, then suddenly everything's gone bad.
Do you know what? Like, to kind of close this out, payroll has always been a space where we just get it done, right?
100%.
But actually, that's been to our own detriment in this industry. People often thought that we just sat in the background and it just got paid. Now, there are people out there that have worked their butt off for 20 years and plus because no one else knew what they did. Now, I think the tables have turned on that. We really need to start respecting our own boundaries and making sure that the CEO and the CFO, if there's no problem because we're hiding it, there's no problem.
No, 100%. As long as you're doing it, you're not alerted to the problem. No, look, I love the conversation. Obviously, we're both very, very high energy.
I know, I love us.
I know, and I just think that like it's nice to get to see the person behind the brand. I think that's why I wanted to do this, because people, you know, you did the taps thing this year, and you know, and everyone was like, nah, but like, it's nice to get to know the person behind the brand, because people know who I am, right? Because people could speak to me and I do these things, and like they know me in depth of who I am as a person, and I think it's really nice to for people to get to know you, and that you are human and you have the same issues as everybody else, and you know, and your passions and your drives, and you want to do a good job. So thank you so much for coming on.
You are so welcome. I am a human, absolutely. I know that because I'm super tired and maybe a little bit drunk after the Prosecco.
I know my face is really hot. But thank you so much for listening, and thanks, Nat, for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
So it's recording, it'll be blue there. So we'll just do like a trial run just to make sure it all sounds okay when we listen it back and shit like that.
Sounds like a plan.
Oh my God, do you want to do this?
This will be fun. Is it because you're hungover and the thought of this is going to be really traumatic?
I need my power.
And she's sculling Powerade. Right.
Life's hard when you're 35.
Should try being 42, honestly. Right, this could go anywhere. I'm not usually good at this.
I'm good.
Nailed it! Happy Friday! Ching. Oh, hang on, wait. We've got to pour it first.
Yeah, go. Oh my God.
I thought that was going to go everywhere.
No.
You want to smell it?
No, I'm just going to drink it. All right, let's stop that.